Avengers of Justice Farce Wars is an awful parody film of the modern, circa 2017 blockbuster market, and from looking at the poster you may be inclined to believe that it's parodying the Avengers, but that's not really true. If anything, it's more of a really weird pseudo-Batman parody, but really it's its own entity entirely, which puts this film in kind of a weird spot. On one hand, it could live without the pop culture references and comparisons. At the same time, however, it is somewhat needed for the comedy element of this film. The film is also odd because I was expecting the film to be in vein of Meet the Spartans or Scary Movie, but that's not really what we get. In reality, this is just a really cheap, poorly made superhero film with weak jokes throughout the film that are just in the movie so they can call it a parody and use thinly veiled parodies to market the film off of. I want to say this is anything other than a cash grab. Hell, I even defended the corporate Star Wars prequels, as at least those are George's vision, but this film feels like it wanted to sell off the poster and not put the legwork in to make something really original. The audience for this film is also pretty unclear. At times there are strong sexual innuendos that make me think this is supposed to be a raunchy film for adults. The rest of the comedy is just things like Derek Jokester hooking up a popcorn machine to his tickle machine to tickle out the superpowers of our main characters, in what I assume must have been the most awkward scene in cinema history to film. This scene is made for fucking babies, what the fuck? Anyways, I stole this footage from YouTube because I can't find it anywhere else in an editable format, and it's like 270p, so sorry about that. It's available on 1080p on streaming services, so there's that, I guess. Anyway, here's the plot.
Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna
tell you the plot.
Really, really bad.
Superbad is a suburban dad who's getting fat and lives a sad existence where his children don't respect him and his wife Jean Wonder is constantly being hit on by everyone because she's hot.
The AC?
I think the unit outside is broken.
And no, that clip was not edited. His nemesis, Dark Jokester, whose name I was convinced was Derek Jokester because I have dyslexia apparently. Anyway, I'm gonna call him Derek Jokester because I find it funnier than Dark Jokester, is trying to kill him. Derek Jokester also works for Lisp Luthor, who is Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, but he has a lisp. So Superbad accidentally causes the death of Tony Stark, a weak Iron Man parody, and his kids hate him. This scene is really awkward too because of this awful lightsaber fight thing.
Power up!
Anyways, the son leaves with Derek and becomes evil, and his daughter leaves only to be kidnapped. So Beaverine refers him to the incredible Master Yoga, who trains him to embrace the farce so he can save his kid, this training which pretty much exclusively involves him hitting a tire over and over again. Anyways, Master Yoga is some kind of abomination mixture of Yoda and the Incredible Hulk, with some Mr. Miyagi DNA in there. I don't really get it, but whatever. Anyhow, his wife is kidnapped and he keeps training until eventually Derek Jokester shows up and kills Master Yoga. Meanwhile, Lisp Luthor gets the MacGuffin from Lando Fury, who's a mixture of Lando somehow, Nick Fury, and Black Panther, cause he's black, get it? Anyways, Lisp Luthor is trying to freeze the world for whatever reason, so Superbad assembles a team of people including his newly freed daughter, El Captain, South America, Spider-Cat, and Thorbaka. They fight in this warehouse they rented out like this is a Linkara film, and Superbad ends up getting to Derek Jokester, who captures them and tickles the powers out of them, but then somehow Superbad channels the power of the farce to free them, and they kick all the villains in the balls to defeat him. Anyhow, Superbad throws a car, crippling Lisp Luthor, and that's the ending of the film, thank God.
Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna
tell you about the characters.
really, really bad.
Trying to describe the characters in this film as I would traditionally in a video is going to be hard because the only one I can really say much about is Superbad since he's the only one with a character in this movie. But I suppose I'll try anyways. Jean Wonder is a character that is hot and has funny shenanigans regarding all the men in her life trying to fuck her. The Incredible Master Yoga is wise, I think. Superbad is a fatting old man who feels inadequate for his family and as a superhero. He is self-conscious, I guess, and he loves his family, I guess. Derek Jokester is just Jared Leto's Joker.
Oh, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you. Really, really bad.
Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna tickle you. Really, really bad.
He is perhaps the most cringe character ever put to film. I hate every minute of him. He's literally just an incredibly cringe version of a Joker that's already incredibly cringy. He's also supposed to be some kind of Darth Vader parody. I don't see it at all, other than his connection to the Emperor Man they have in this film, who I think is supposed to be Immortan Joe from Mad Max Fury Road mixed with the Emperor. The Star Wars aspects of this film are really undercooked and feel like they were supposed to be in service of the film's Farce Wars title, and not much else. Lisp Luthor is a secondary villain. He's just supposed to be Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, but with a lisp. Funny, I guess? Rhea is Superbat's daughter and is Rey from Star Wars, but also Leia based on the name, but also Harley Quinn because of the bat and pigtails, or maybe she's Jean Grey because of her shield thing? Or who fucking cares? I don't think this movie does. Her character doesn't do anything of note. She really doesn't act like any of the characters she's parodying, which leads to my next point.
Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna
Accommodate the title.
really bad.
Avengers of Justice Farce Wars. If you break down the title, you have Avengers, so Marvel characters, and you have Justice, presumably bringing to mind DC characters. This makes sense in a superhero parody. It is fine to parody both DC and Marvel characters. Then you have Farce Wars, which clearly brings to mind Star Wars, especially given the font they use. Okay, that's a lot, but they could possibly do something like superheroes in space or something, right? Well, fuck us, because they choose to do nothing with any of those things. Instead, what we get is a bunch of confusing, unfocused shit. First of all, none of the film takes place in space, so the Star Wars parody is a stretch. Hell, this film clearly is a superhero comedy with virtually no sci-fi elements. They kind of have lightsabers, like Harley Quinn girl's baseball bat starts glowing for no reason, Master Yoga trains Superbat, and characters often have elements of the Star Wars character names, but here's the issue with each. The lightsaber things are never explained or commented on. They're just done in post. Master Yoga doesn't act like Yoda, he just runs around in a karate school. And the names this movie stole from other properties literally never have anything to do with the characters they've written within this movie. The closest is probably Lando Fury because he betrays the heroes and is black, so I guess that's his connection to Lando. But what's the fucking joke, first off? And second off, it takes crazy faith in the filmmakers to actually buy that that was their intention, especially since the rest of the film is so fucking badly made. Okay, so next we have the Avengers. There's a mixture of Thor and Chewbacca. Okay, sure, I don't get it. He's just a hairy Thor or something. Where's the joke? And don't say the name is a joke, because I don't see how these characters are related. They just mash the two together. Second, we have Captain Mexico. This joke is so commonly used, I used the same joke a little over a year before this film came out, and it was cringe when I did it. Tony Starch is almost an actual parody. He's just some douchey guy who gets killed comically when a beer is spilt on his arc reactor. I mean, it isn't funny. It may cross the bar of entry to be considered a real parody like Meet the Spartans or something. That's how shit this movie is, by the way. They failed to even reach the bar of entry to be a parody like Meet the Spartans succeeded to do. This is a cheap ripoff, but I digress. Okay, finally we have DC shit. We have the villains who are stolen wholesale from DC, and basically all they did was make the characters even more cringe than before, but again, I don't really see the joke. They're just kind of trying to act like Jared Leto or Eisenberg's versions of Lex Luthor and Joker respectively without really adding anything to the character or adding something particularly funny. They just minorly changed the name of both and pulled them into this movie with weird things like the tickling machine, and Lex Luthor has a lisp now, I guess. Good job, I guess? These aren't even parodies, they're just stealing the villains, putting dogshit actors in the role, and that's it. We also have Superbat, who's a parody of Batman mostly, but he's just a suburban dad, so he's kind of nothing like Batman. Again, I don't really get the joke.
Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna
Tell you why this film is
really bad.
Normally I put a good stuff slide, but there's no upsides to this film since it's absolute trash. Anyhow, this film is shot like a porno half the time. I expect some scenes to just abruptly cut to Derek Jokester or Beaverine or even Superbat getting a blowjob. It's ugly and looks absurdly cheap with absolutely no personality to the cinematography, editing, or lighting. The climax of this film has the worst sound mixing I've ever heard in a film.
Get in the game, Dad!
Why is the music so muffled? Why are the sound effects the way they are? The rest of the film also has bad sound mixing, but the end is just absurdly bad. This film wants to be a parody of superhero films, but can't even start to capture their excitement. You see, half the reason your brain likes superhero films more than other films is because they're fun, exciting, and cool to look at least the good ones. Superhero films are rarely incredibly intricate in the writing department, but they make good money and get decent scores in terms of reviews. Hell, I like more Marvel films than I hate, which is a pretty damn decent average for me. This film captures none of that. First of all, it's not fun, it's fucking boring. It's just a guy standing around for 2 hours. Second, the film's not exciting, it's just people standing and talking in a house and or fight in awkward and poorly choreographed fight scenes. Okay, watch this. This is how Iron Man approaches these terrorists he's confronting. Okay, now watch the overweight Superbat jogging towards the warehouse to confront the Joker troops.
Plan of attack is attack.
And this film doesn't even look good, as we covered. I get this movie doesn't have $17 quadrillion like the Marvel films do, but they can at least try and make it funny or use what they have. If the effects are shit, that's fine, it's a low budget. If it's funny or has something to say, I could get past it incredibly easily, but it's neither funny, nor does it have anything to say about the properties it's apparently parodying. This film also is awkwardly unfunny, like the humor's just dumb. I don't get why it is supposed to be funny that the jokester's weapon is like a coffee maker or this weird tickle fetish thing. The only thing that was funny is when Superbat dropped his mom's ashes, but then they did it twice, and it's like, dude, okay, you're pushing it. And the scene was absurdly long as it was, so I don't know. There's just nothing really worth watching in this film. The costumes of face paint are really bad. Apparently they couldn't be fucking bothered to apply a second coat of face paint to Master Yoga or Derek Jokester. Also, the stunt actors are never well hidden, like it's blatantly obvious at like 10 points rather than our actual stars. The sequence of Lisp Luthor dancing to open source license free music was pretty cringe as well.
Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna
Conclude this video.
really bad.
This was a film that was made to trick people and nothing else. It's low effort, poorly made, and shitty. It's like an asylum film, but under the legal guise of parody. Taking another character's name is not funny. This could have easily been an original IP, but then how could they make their title trick people into watching it? So this is what we got. Hypothetically, even if this film was made for someone, I couldn't pinpoint who it's made for. First off, it has to be a superhero fan. That is a wide demographic these days, but then our main character is a father going through a midlife crisis, so I guess men in their 40s who like superheroes? Well no, that makes no sense, because the humor is made for 5-year-olds. But how can 5-year-old superhero fans care about a movie about a 40-year-old man going through a midlife crisis while everyone stands around talking? Do you see how from a conceptual level this screenplay just doesn't work and isn't for anyone? Fuck it, whatever. That was my review of Avengers of Justice Farce Wars. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever. Next week is Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I've reviewed 16 other films in this series, so check out my playlist, linked on the end card.